So let me introduce the panelists and just give them a couple of seconds to switch on their cameras. So I'll just give a couple of minutes for you to introduce yourselves, please. Marjana, maybe you start first.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to join you virtually today. My name is Marjana Senčar Srdič, and I'm part of A1 Slovenia team, the largest privately owned mobile operator in Slovenia. We are proud to be part of the A1 Telekom Austria Group and America Mobile. In addition, I serve as Vice Chair of GSMA's 5G IoT Strategy Steering Group. My work in research and strategic development brings a unique blend of perspectives from the position of an operator in a smaller country to contributing to a broader goal vision of shaping of the future of connectivity. I'm excited to join this discussion and look forward to exchanging insights.
Thank you, Marjana. Idir, would you go for next, please?
Yes, thank you, Roberto. Good morning. So, Idir Fodil, I'm within Orange. I'm SVP of Strategy, Transformation and Performance in Orange International Network Division. They're serving our B2B and wholesale customers.
Great. Sanjiv?
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks very much for the opportunity to participate in this interesting panel. I'm Sanjiv Gossain, and I'm based in London, and I lead the European aspect of Verizon Business, which is obviously part of Verizon globally.
Great. Thanks so much, everyone. So let's start maybe with a bit more of a general question. As you know, we've been sort of 5 years now into the 5G rollout, and it hasn't been an easy journey for operators. And I just wanted to see your opinions. What have been the challenges for operators, and what's taking so long on that road to monetization? Marjana, maybe I'll start with you.
Okay. Firstly, for sure, the significant investment required for the spectrum, required for the infrastructure, required for the migration from 4G to 5G, which can be particularly demanding for smaller markets like ours. Then, of course, the meeting of customer expectations. We are still at non-standalone architecture, progressing to standalone in this year. So this has been a hurdle for some use cases requiring ultra-low latency and network slicing as such. And also, it is clear that industry needs some time to develop clear use cases that will really benefit from 5G. I've seen pilots where we tried to combine the needs of the customers and current releases, what current releases can do for them. And in some cases, we are not there yet. So the third one is clearly cooperation is needed, co-creation is needed from all partners involved.
Okay. Idir, do you have any comments on this? I think Marjana touched on some interesting points in terms of partnership and some of the challenges in deploying the network, like 5G SA.
Yeah, I would totally emphasize and leverage on what have been said. In fact, in the sense that definitely to have great and efficient usage of 5G, we have two things that are needed. First of all, the investment and moving to 5G SA to use all the capacities and properties of 5G networks. The second one is having use cases now that use fully the capacities of 5G, like latency, using sliced networks for sliced services, giving differentiated services to different segments and markets. I would say now that this road or move or journey toward the 5G SA has started. So we have more and more 5G SA networks, for example, in the world. And in Urge, we started that, and now we are seeing use cases starting developing both at retail side, but also, for example, at B2B side and wholesale side. So let's say that today we are really starting to benefit from this.
Okay. Sanjiv, any thoughts from your side on this?
Yeah, I think, here at Verizon Business, where in EMEA, we're largely looking at it from the rollout for large enterprises rather than obviously a macro network, which we don't have here. And I think in the last couple of years, it's been very much a year of education for customers, business customers, and very much a time of proof of concepts. So we've done a lot of those. But now it feels, based on what we're seeing, it feels like the market is moving quickly. And we're very focused on helping customers achieve business outcomes and making sure the technology can really make that happen for them. And then obviously there's a natural shift with any new technology. There's hype and expectation, and then realism sets in, and then you get the practicalities of proving it out. And for simple connectivity or redundancy and failover, LTE is fine for some customers, but high capacity, high bandwidth, low latency, we're now seeing customers starting to, as part of their broader digital transformations, really look at that and embrace things. So I feel very positive about the future for this. And let's not talk about the tech. Let's talk about the opportunities and the impact is how we look at it with our customers.
And what's been sort of the challenge in deploying some of these use cases? Sanjiv, maybe starting from you, because some of these low latency use cases require, as we said, 5G standalone, edge computing. Where do you see the operators in actually deploying some of these assets before we can get to the use cases?
Yeah, I think there's been some challenges around the technology with regards to, for example, availability of devices that are native 5G, for example. That's been a big, well, I wouldn't say big, but sort of a major sort of hurdle to overcome as well. Now we're starting to see those come on track as well. And where we've been working with customers is very much around implementing the technologies in, on a campus environment or a port environment, et cetera, getting the licensed spectrum and being able to build a private network around that as well, purpose built. So that has some less challenges, but the use cases are really key because everyone's hearing a lot of hype around it, some of it from the consumer side, but also from the business side. And it's cutting through that. That's been the biggest challenge, to have realistic expectations when the technology is moving from emerging and starting to move more into mainstream, which I think where it is now.
And Idir, maybe similar question to you. I mean, as a sort of good size operator in Europe and in other parts of the world, how are you seeing this, and how are you seeing the markets adopt these technologies to deliver?
Yeah, I would continue on what Sanjiv was saying, as I'm mostly dedicated to B2B and wholesale side. We are seeing a huge increase and interest from enterprise customers. So for providing connectivity, using it as the master connectivity or sometimes as backup. And today we are seeing an increase on that. This is followed by the fact that we support the slicing on our networks. And this is one important element for enterprises, is the fact that we can provide, on top of 5G, different level of services on different slice of our network. So this is why we are seeing this increase in 5G demand from our enterprise customers. And we are seeing beginning of more and more requests from our wholesale customers, in the sense that, for example, we started providing 5G core network as services to our customers at Orange wholesale side. And we are seeing more and more interest in getting this 5G as service. This shows clearly that the ramp up of 5G is starting to be faster.
And Marjana, you mentioned operations from a smaller country. I just wanted to pick on that a little bit more and ask you, what can an operator in smaller countries learn from maybe the larger players in some of the journeys that they've already had in deploying these localized solutions?
Sure. As I mentioned, we have this luck that we are part of a bigger group, so we can get a lot of experience and insights, and also failures from our colleagues where standalone is already implemented, and from all of the private networks that are already set up. smaller markets can be a playground for bigger countries because of the controlled space that you can have in a smaller setup. We are actually focusing on the niche markets within manufacturing. We are quite a manufacturing country with small to medium enterprises, and actually these are the use cases that in some cases the bigger players overlook and can be tested in such smaller countries. We've had some interesting use cases for core robots and industrialization environments, and these are really the ones that we focus on. And for this all, we need cooperation from all parties. This is the game changer for telco industry as such, that this particular 5G generation is more focused on business than the previous ones were, and actually the build-up of the ecosystem is very important, and smaller countries can be used for such playgrounds, actually.
Idir or Sanjiv, do you have any additional comments on that? Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, so maybe just moving on, perhaps as an addition. So Marjana talked a lot around partnerships, and we heard ecosystems even in the previous discussions. Isn't this something that the industry is already working on or have been working on for some time, to deliver partnerships, to deliver, and even in the infrastructure itself, you know, multi-vendor orchestration and architecture? Where do you see this in terms of what's not happening to be able for the operators to deploy these use cases?
I think if I can just maybe add something to that question, Roberto. I think there's sort of three legs to the stool where we look at it from deploying these use cases. One is network, two is devices, and three is applications. And the network is, yes, we need to move forward in terms of slicing, in terms of standalone, etc. Those are steps to take. But the network you can put up. But without devices and without applications, it's just a core infrastructure, basic infrastructure. Obviously, low latency, high security, and so on notwithstanding. So I think that enablement layer of devices and software has been a bit behind, but now we're starting to see that being deployed. And obviously you have the opportunities around MEC as well to have that happen, and edge compute. Those are the opportunities, I think, which now starting to see acceleration, starting to get opportunities. And for me, that's the ecosystem that makes the difference, so the customer can get some real value out of this, and we can start to monetize this more fully, which has been part of the challenge with some of these other areas. So there's plenty of acceleration ahead of us as the ecosystem continues to mature.
And Idir, maybe a similar topic to yourself, since you work in the B2B side of Orange. How are you seeing the European market, or indeed other markets, developing these ecosystems?
Yeah, I would take on top of what have been said concerning devices, network, and application, is that one of the main levers that would allow rapid usage of 5G and full exploitation of all the capacities is the fact that we can easily use and consume 5G. And this is why today, from my perspective, one of the main important element is that we provide what we call APIs, in the sense that we can consume the 5G network based on API. We can consume it on demand. And this is why there is one partnership or companies, joint venture, that have been recently been created between a lot of operators like Orange, Deutsche Telekom, AT&T, and Ericsson, in order that we work together to provide APIs to allow consuming 5G networks on demand, and also developing use cases very quickly. And this what will allow really rapid growth of the 5G usage by developing new use cases and allowing the fact of have a huge and easy usage of these networks.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Marjana, over to you. What do you think? I mean, I think over the last maybe couple of years at least, we've been talking a lot more. I mean, API stories, it's got a long tail, but what do you think things are? How are the things moving forward from where you're sitting?
Yeah, so what Idir said makes perfect sense. This is actually the key point of the future cooperation that is needed. This, let's say, platform-based business model for both devices. More marketplaces for IoT applications, like some of the bigger operators are already putting in place, and of course APIs that allow developers to build services on top of the network. And I think this is the most important part that still has to be improved in Europe as such.
Can I just add something, Roberto, if I may, to the API piece?
Sure.
I think it's a really great point that Idir made earlier on, because APIs will open up the opportunity for greater usage of the infrastructure, whether it's device management APIs for your IoT deployments to add or activate or suspend service for devices, for example, or APIs that may, for applications that have a geo footprint. You can provide the tools for edge discovery and be able to access that as well. So there's a whole host of things that open up. And then you can obviously prioritize certain traffic going through as well for more important workloads, etc. So I think that whole API piece really does open up the network, and the things that Idir talked about is really important, because it does make, I think, an important shift where we're thinking less about the telecom network as being a closed infrastructure and much more open. Although, like you said, it has been around for a while, the talk of it, there's real opportunities now.
And Sanjiv, if I just continue with you, do your customers, how well do they understand, or do they just want a solution from yourselves? What are the opportunities that you're seeing from your discussion with your customers? How much technical detail do you need to give them?
It's a good question. I think the business users naturally just are focused on the business outcome, but there is a fair degree of technology discussion around the high-level design, the architecture, what we're trying to produce, how many radios you need, etc., the coverage, what the technology is better than the others. So it does get fairly technical with the certain aspects and the architects around some of in the customers. But you've got to have that. You can't just default to talking about the tech. You've got to, I think, bring back up to the end customer who typically has the budget for this and is then going to be able to talk about, well, what is, am I going to be able to do better asset management or asset tracking, for example, across my estate? Am I going to have, better data throughput and better device management for my IoT network? Those are the kind of things that the customers would be interested in hearing about.
And I'll ask a similar question to Idir and Marjana. I think this is really an interesting point, understanding the technology, but then asking for the business solution. What are you seeing, Idir?
Sorry, I did not catch the question. Excuse me.
I was just wondering what you're seeing from talking to your customers in terms of the capabilities that you need to prove to them that you can now deliver with 5G that perhaps you couldn't before, and whether these meet with the business opportunities and the needs of your customers.
Yeah, for sure. We have 2 or 3 main points. First one is the fact of having access to high bandwidth anywhere. So this is really very important. And also the fact of being in capacity that this bandwidth can be used as kind of backup in case in case the fixed part has some troubles. The second important element is all the quality of services, like indicators like latency, which is really important. And the last one is the fact that 5G, thanks to slices, is able to provide differentiated services on top of one network. And this is a very important element because, for example, you can differentiate your traffic, you can differentiate your application, provide them with different level of services, and this is easily and fully integrated in the 5G networks. Also, the fact that 5G is virtualized, containerized, this allow to provide additional services on top of 5G network easily than what we were able to do before. So definitely, to summarize the request of our customers, still the bandwidth, the latency, capacity of having differentiated services.
And yeah, go ahead, Marjana.
I would just add on to what Sanjiv said. It depends who you talk to internally. So some of the levels are interested in technical details, not to the extent that we are used to coming from an operator, but still. But the decision makers, the ones that actually decide if the project is go or not go, are of course interested in the benefits they get. No? Typically, this comes with some problems that they had with previous setups. What brings me to my mind is one project where they were dissatisfied with the automatic AMS actually traveling from one part of the factory to another and cutting off at the wireless access point. So these practical business use cases that they struggle with and would like to overcome, especially when some new buildings are set up, these are the ones that are in their mind, not the technical details that we are used to pitch them.
Yeah. And I guess one of the key points is for operators to continue to remain within the value chain of providing these private networks, these solutions to customers. And we're seeing more and more maybe other companies stepping in. Of course, operators in many markets have access to that spectrum, which is the important asset. How else can operators remain in the value chain and ensure that they're not being driven out? Idir, maybe I'll start with you.
Yeah, how we can remain on the value chain. I would answer by one element is that the DNA of an operator is providing connectivity and services on top of connectivity, while ensuring key elements for our customer, managing the end-to-end quality of services and security. And this is key requirements and also requests from our customer is having the one dedicated, let's say, owner of this value chain from end to end. And the second element is the capacity of adding additional services and valuable services on top of that. So personally, and within Orange, we are convinced that providing connectivity with trust while guaranteeing security end-to-end and quality, we will not change tomorrow or after tomorrow, because this is still the request from our customers.
Sanjiv, I'll turn the same question to yourself, just adding to the point that a lot of times, a lot of the industry verticals say that, look, CSPs just don't understand our business. They cannot help us. So they go to maybe a systems integrator or to a third party to help them with that. What are your thoughts, and how can CSPs remain in the value chain?
Yeah, I think that's been a criticism in the past. I think we, as CSPs now, have a much, I can only speak for Verizon, of course, we have a much better understanding of our customers' domains, the industries, the challenges they have. It does take an ecosystem to deliver, because we're not going to be building all of the applications. That's going to be an SI or someone like that. So if we're an integral part of the ecosystem, and we can partner together and work with our customers and show we understand their challenges, both technical and the business challenges, and like Idir said, make sure that we focus on that our network provides that low latency, it's highly secure, the quality of service is there, and that we're collaborative in the way we work with them, then I think the industry verticals can start to get some advantage now. You know, the foundational use case for many of our clients is consistent, seamless connectivity in a complex or inhospitable IT environment. So that might mean a port or a workplace where there's a lot of metal moving around, or a warehouse which is old and difficult to get cabling around. These are great examples where 5G network can really, really help, coupled with the ecosystem applications that can, and devices that can come with it. So I think as long as we maintain our relevancy and understanding of their business, then we can be, you know, a real partner and not be disintermediated.
Yeah. And just continuing sort of in the spirit of the title of this webinar, I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts? What's missing in today's 5G, and what do you think next generation mobile networks might look like?
I think if I can, maybe, shall I just go first if that's all right? Sorry.
Yeah, please.
I think we've had this notion of 3G, 4G, 5G, and obviously 6G is, you know, already in development. I think maybe there's a change now with more software-defined networks, more AI coming into it, where we won't see this movement from 5G necessarily to 6G as a sort of fundamental change, but more of an evolution around that. So I think we'll see more AI in coming to the network. We'll see more software aspects to it, as we're already seeing, etc. So I think it's going to be more of that evolution, perhaps, rather than a big shift from 4G, like it was from 4G to 5G or 3 to 4. That's just an opinion.
Sure. Marjana and Idir, your thoughts?
For sure, more AI driven, which also brings additional layer of security needed. Then there are new use cases tied to sensing. So this is also bringing some new devices for sure, new type of devices. And this for sure will also, the security part will require advancement in quantum safe encryption. So like Sanjiv said, I don't see it as total steering from one to another generation, but more of a add-on on a good basis that is already there with 5G.
Idir, any thoughts?
Yeah, from my perspective, I would say that for a new G, I would say we should integrate, as said by Sanjiv, more and more software development, more APIs, the capacity to provide to developers to develop new use cases. Should be also sustainable, because this is really important. Sustainability is now at the heart of all what we are doing as operators, and also at the heart of our strategy within Orange. I would say also the AI part, so artificial intelligence part, would be very important, and maybe we may have additional use cases or usages, like, for example, quantum computing and others. But all this is under definition, and definitely will rely on experience of 5G and the new use cases that we should support on 6G.
Yeah. So just sort of final question to you all. Do you think that 5G is sort of the last ubiquitous generation? What are your thoughts in terms of creating maybe something which is less ubiquitous, more localized? Sanjiv, maybe you start first.
Yeah, sure. I think we are seeing more private localized networks more than others. It's not just about large scale networks, more localized networks. I think there's definitely a possibility around that, and that is something that we would see, I would say, moving forward. But as I mentioned earlier, I think it'll be more an evolution of where we are today rather than wholesale infrastructure change, etc.
Okay. Marjana, any final thoughts?
Yes. It also it depends on the solid definition of the ubiquitous. So if if you say that it's standardized for everyone, that there's a possibility that this is the last one. But on other hand, with new use cases that we have a feeling of transmitting experiences like taste, touch, and other that we can even imagine now. It's similar like with beginnings of internet. No one knew what will bring the soul in introduction of social media, for example. We are still exploring, and this is an interesting new step that will achieve in a couple of years.
Yeah. Idir, some final thoughts maybe?
I would not provide an answer with yes or no. Honestly, we will discover, but definitely, as said by Sanjiv, we are seeing deployment of a lot of private networks. At the same time, we have deployment of 5G SA, which is increasing. We have new technologies like AI. We have the quantum. We have a lot of technologies. So let's say that definitely, what would be this new generation? What is for sure from my side is that this would be really very high speed AI sustainable and zero touch by design. But would it be last ubiquitous? Honestly, we will see.
Yes, absolutely, we will.
May I
Yes,
just
go ahead,
tell you, Roberto, that I got this from Randeep Sekon, who's the CTO of Bharti Airtel in India. And when I interviewed Randeep, he said it will be the last ubiquitous, 5G is the last ubiquitous G, but he said that 6G could be nationwide, for example, deployed for a railway or road system nationally. So that's where that came from. So anyway, great panel.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so much.
Indeed.
Thank you, everyone.
And,
Thank
hope
you.
to see you